Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Bebop here. Today's video is going to be about the ultimate hatchet build, what I believe is the ultimate hatchet build. There could be variations, but let's go over it. It starts off with the Freya. Look at the damage that we're going here. This is in a public lobby, so not even optimized with the rend or whatnot. They didn't even have Oblivion for a lot of that. And you saw about 9k a hit on the torrents and light attacks, and then the almost 15k on the rending throw. I was able to hit a 15k on a rending throw in a different raid, and this is just public lobbies, like I said, not optimized. The overall damage number isn't as impressive as what the constant uptime on abilities is. Now with the Freya, everybody automatically assumes it's the best ranged hatchet there is. It's probably the best melee hatchet there is, because the more uptime you can get on Berserk is the more uptime you can take advantage of with the Keen Berserk. Now the Keen Berserk is going to allow you to do more damage and higher crit chance, and also when you have torrent, when you have a refreshing torrent on, you're going to be able to also cool it down. Now let's get into the specifics here so I can be more detailed. And so as we look at the clothing, as you saw, Keen Berserk on the clothing, I have Leeching Cyclone also on the clothing, and refreshing torrent on the clothing. Now the Keen Berserk on the clothing will give you a 13% additional chance to get a crit and 13% additional damage. Not as much as if it was on the hatchet, which I believe it's like 30% on there. We'll take a look at that here in a second. I'm also running the Sundering Javelin, and that way I can knock enemies on their butt by also rending them. And then I can hit them with Perforate to weaken and rend them more, and Leeching Cyclone in case I need that health. But what's good about Leeching Cyclone or Cyclone period in the skill tree is that I can get instant stamina. So let's say the first boss slams down on you. Let's say he breaks your stamina. You can instantly Cyclone and almost be back to full stamina, and you get health from it. So you don't have to drink a potion and you get right back to action. It's really quick. Now, with the spear setup, I have the Cyclone, Perforate, and Sundering, or the Javelin. Now I go right side ultimate, of course, always. I don't know anybody that goes left. And this is, like I said, really good for the second boss also, when the birds spawn in or in the wolves and you need to be able to knock that bird down or get to the bird real quick, rend them as much as possible so you can melt them. Because a lot of groups have trouble melting the mobs, and I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of rend on the enemies. And of course the mobs do move, and you never know about vines and when they're going to spawn, so it can get pretty hectic. But that's a really good build to help also get health and then rend and weaken. Now, with the hatchet, I go right side ultimate. That way attacks deal 4% more base damage per debuff on the target. I go Berserk, I go Torrent, and then I go Rending Throw. Now, what's really good about running the Freya, and with this skill tree, it has inherent cooldowns, as you can see on the screen. By throwing the rending throw, it's going to reduce its own cooldown by 20%. Anytime you do a throw, it's going to reduce all other abilities by 5%. And then when you add that onto the Freya, which has refreshing move plus 25% cooldown on any throwing hatchet that hits an enemy, your uptime when Berserk goes down is almost back instantly. Now you also have a refreshing torrent, so each hit is going to reduce your cooldown by quite a lot. I believe it's like 5% per hit. That way you can constantly have your Keen Berserk and your rending throw, so you're constantly rending and you're getting that 13% damage and crit chance. Now if you know, in the raid, the first boss and the last boss do not have backs, so the more critical chances you can get to get hits on them, the better. Also, Vicious is really good on them. Rogue will not work on these bosses, so don't take a rogue weapon in there. Now, on the second boss, the hitbox is really small and he moves a lot, so taking Rogue in there, you could get it to proc on the second boss, but still, it's a small hitbox. He moves a lot. It's better to go with a high crit chance type of style and Vicious. So here's my stats. I have 25, 25, 25 int, focus, con, and I have 351 strength, because that way it matches up with 350 on all three classes. And that's going to give me the 10% bonus damage to abilities and the last hit of the melee, a light attack chain. So the third hit. And how you want to take advantage of the Freya in this setup is basically you can Berserk, go into Torrent, You can go 1, 2, 3 autos and then rending throw, 1, 2, 3 autos, rending throw, 1, 2, 3 autos, rending throw, and then, you know, you're back to getting your cooldown on your berserk. So doing this, I found that it really does good damage. I play with the rapier also. The rapier is still going to be overall more damage, it's faster, plus you're helping the bleed rapier out. That's why a lot of speedrun crews use it. But here it is on the weapon, by the way, real quick. 20% critical chance and 20% more crit damage if it's on the weapon. Now, if you wanted to see higher numbers, there's a hatchet to go out with, or to go out there with, that is refreshing move vicious. And it's called the Spore Light Hatchet. You put Keen Berserk on that, and that would be really good for the raid. And of course, this build is for the raid and not necessarily dungeons. Dungeons, you can go with the Rogue one in most dungeons, but if you go up against an enemy that doesn't have a back, then Rogue's not going to proc. So Vicious would be the go-to. So the Spore Light Hatchet, until you can get the new hatchet from the Sandworm, these two setups is what you're probably going to want to test out and try for yourself. If you want to upgrade the Freya up to 725, then you can feel free to do that. I would probably suggest you start out with the Spore Light one first, rank that up to 700, put Keen Berserk on there, run Inferno or the Artifact Rapier on your back, and then that way you can have the 15% bonus damage from those weapons. If you do the Inferno, which I would do over the Rapier, then you can at least have some fire damage to shoot the flowers and actually be more helpful than just having a Rapier on your back that does nothing. So I do have a build with that hatchet and Inferno coming up soon, but this hatchet setup is just so fast with the cooldowns that if I could test it on the dummies, I would love to see what the overall damage is and how fast I can melt the dummies. But in situations like this where mobs are going all over the place, you're dying, you're respawning, you want your cooldowns, you know, you can't get properly, you know, behind the enemies all the time. You got, you know, you ducking and dodging, bobbing and weaving. To have your cooldowns go as fast as what this setup is, I don't think there's anything better for what this raid, you know, needs. Now, if you have a different opinion, that's fine. Feel free to leave it in the comments. If you tried the Spore Light one out with Inferno on the back in the raid, let me know what you think. And if you ended up doing the Sandworm a bunch and got the Duneborn Hook, the new hatchet, that drops from 700 to 17 gear score. It comes with Keen Berserk, Vicious, and you could put maybe Refresh a Move on there. Let me know how that is, how that hatchet's been working for you. I haven't seen anybody else with it. So if you haven't been running the Sandworm, you might want to do so if you want another hatchet build. But anyways, I stream live every day on Twitch. Feel free to stop by. Hopefully this video helped you out. I've seen a lot of people out there throwing hatchets and running hatchet builds, just not doing enough damage. So I figured I would show you a way to make it a lot better. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Shiggity giggity bye my schwap. Later.